Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see some of you still hanging in this late on a Friday afternoon, so thank you for that. It's going to be worth it. We've got a really interesting topic for the next half an hour, which is reimagining customer retail, and we'll come on to that in just a minute. But before we do that, just a couple of things from me before we start. So we've got the Slido app up and running. You've probably all seen that throughout the afternoon. Please submit your questions during the conversation, and we've reserved some time at the end to answer those. So, don't be shy. Get your questions in as we go along. The other thing I want to do before we start is take a minute just to introduce the fantastic panel here with me this afternoon, Tom, Lisa, and Bart. I'm going to give each of them just a moment to explain who they are and a little bit about their businesses before we go into the topic. So, Tom, would you like to start?
Sure. My name's Tom Hickman. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Nationwide Marketing Group, and what we do is represent 5,300 independent businesses in the US and Canadian market, and we provide them aggregate purchasing, technology, and back-end services for their business. So effectively anything an independent business needs to compete against big box or e-com in the US and Canada.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. Lisa.
And I'm Lisa Lopuk. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ShareGallery.com. We are a startup, a technology startup that has created a platform that enables a distributed retail model where any space can essentially become a retail space, and that venue can share in the profits.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. And Bart.
Yeah, I'm Bart van der Vis. I'm responsible for Germany within Coolblue, and Coolblue is an online retailer try to making customers happy every day. We're a 2 billion business based in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, and we're doing that with over 5,000 people with much joy.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Well, let's start on the debate then. And the first thing we're going to talk about is generations of consumers, because of course there's quite a shift at the moment. I mean, Gen Z are now, well, they have become consumers, and actually, they are going to be the most significant generation on Earth very shortly. You can see the numbers on the slide here behind me. Now, actually, it's really interesting because Gen Z live their lives very, very differently. I mean, they were born digital natives. They were almost born with a mobile phone in their hand, and nothing's changed since that time. And actually, they see very little distinction between the online and physical worlds, which is very different to the generations that came before. Gamers of Gen Z spend twice as much time socializing with friends in the metaverse than they do in real life. So that's the reality. That's what we're facing as a retail industry these days. And I'm really keen to get the thoughts from the panel on how you actually work with those as your consumers. How do you bring retail to that very different generation? Tom.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to throw a couple numbers at you. So this is the US market, but we do know the millennials and Gen Z, 97% of them do want to shop online. We also know that slightly higher, 97% would prefer to shop online and in store, right? You just said it, they crave connection. They crave a cultured experience. In the US market, regardless of what generation you are, 66% of people desire to buy locally, which is really important. We represent local markets. But as we look specifically at Gen Zs and millennials, we know they want choice, right? And whether that's choice of product, choice of experience, choice to buy online or in store, and more increasingly, choice on how to buy, where to buy, how to pick up, right? We know they want alternative payment sources as well, right? They want to maybe buy now, pay later, maybe pay in installments, maybe pick up in store, maybe look in store, pick up at home. So what we found is they are highly motivated. They tend to distrust big box, which is good for us. But they're active, and you have to meet them. They desire communication. You have to meet them where they are, and you have to provide them every solution they need in order to be successful with them.
So do you actively try and communicate with them differently? I mean, does it change the way that you operate?
We do. We use a lot of technology, a lot of chat, a lot of online based on our websites to kind of have that conversation they want. We want to make sure we're following all the way through the journey where they want to meet us. Interestingly enough, my daughter is of that age. She didn't used to want to talk to people, but now she really curates experience. I think some of that has to do with COVID. This generation was locked up for a very long time, right? They are fatigued from digital engagements over Zoom. They still consume a lot of content, But when they interact and actually want to purchase, they want some connection, just like we do, just like we did, just like our parents did. That's an innate human desire, is connection. And I think because maybe they've had quite a bit less of it than the rest of us in the formative years, the last couple of years, that they want to be touched. So we have to be there for them online and in store.
Okay, interesting. Now, Bart, Tom talked about, how it's different for big box in this space. I mean, tell us how you respond to these consumers and how you try and adapt to these consumers.
First of all, we're not big box, but we see a lot of differences among generations. One of those is that newer generations don't have to own stuff; they like to rent stuff. It's a little bit like payments afterward. But so we created washing machine as a service, just with a monthly fee. You always have a working washing machine. So that's an important trend we see. Another one is that people like refurbishment more. Sustainability is important for the newer generation. So we refurbished old phones, but we also sell refurbished phones again. So trade-in propositions, refurbishment propositions, those are working very well.
Okay.
And for older generations, of course, stores are really important. Not only for older generations, but we meet them happily in our 22 stores.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not saying you're big box, but you're bigger than some of the smaller retailers that Tom would work with. Okay, Lisa.
Well, I would say that I would agree with everything that has been said, that we have digital natives that we are communicating with and dealing with. These are the influencers on TikTok and on Twitter, and they pride themselves on the following that they have. And I think that's a huge opportunity as a distribution channel because we can essentially empower these young influencers to become a digital army of an ambassador army online that is out there essentially talking about and selling your products. And so I think what we've done is created a platform that easily allows these types of young people to curate almost like a shoppable Pinterest board where they can pull together their favorite products, put them into a collection, and it could even have a theme to it. Perhaps the influencer is known as a fitness influencer, so they're bringing in all these products or electronics or pieces and parts of that lifestyle, and they're curating that set, and then they're advertising that out, pushing that out, almost like an affiliate plan. So if we can make tools that make it easy for them to quickly assemble a board of all the things that they like and then push it out to their constituents, all their following online, who are then encouraged to buy from that board, not only are they now potentially earning an income, a potentially huge income, because we give them the tools to make their own online store effectively. And all they are is just a pass-through. They're just taking a percentage of the transaction because we're leveraging the audience that they've built.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. I mean, this is literally creating whole new retail channels as a result of the way consumers are interacting with retailers these days. And indeed, this is not a retail proposition you have here. This is something outside of the traditional retail channels. But it's just fascinating the way these new channels are emerging.
It's a marketplace bringing those two pieces together.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, really interesting. So let's move on to the next point. And I just have a question for the producer because I don't think the slides are rendering correctly. So apologies. I just need to stand up just to talk about the detail here. So consumers want experiences, obviously. I mean, we know that. That's really been a transition in recent years. And actually, we see from our GfK consumer life data that a lot of consumers want stimulating experiences. This isn't just in retail. Obviously, they want retail to be an experience, but they want experiences throughout their life as well. And you can see from the numbers here on the chart that, our consumers are still demanding this. The numbers have dropped a little bit in recent years. It changed a bit during COVID. The numbers were actually a bit higher before COVID, but actually they're still pretty high, and you can see the numbers on the chart there. So my question to the panel is, how is retail changing to allow consumers to experience products? I'm going to ask you that one, Lisa.
Sure. Thank you. Our platform is really seeing an opportunity to leverage underutilized business spaces around the world to become retail opportunities. I mean, if you think of it, there's a lot of places that customers already go, Airbnbs, hotels, restaurants, cafes, and there's wonderful products that surround them. And imagine being able to buy what you see wherever you go. So if you go someplace and the chair is amazing or the barware is very cool, right now there's not a way to easily just buy that. You have to go to a store to buy furniture or art or electronics. You have to go to these different, that's an errand. But if you can serendipitously capture a sale wherever you go, and our platform can enable that, And that's not only a huge convenience for the customer, but it allows them to experience the product in real life. They can touch it, they can see it, they can accidentally sit on it, they can actually see how big it is, what the color is, and use it. And so that's a very different experience than just going to a store and seeing something in a box where you just see the picture and it's next to its competitor product. Hard to really understand if that's going to fit into your lifestyle or if it's even a cool product to work with. So I think giving customers that opportunity to see and feel and experience products in the real world at these places where they already go. And we can incentivize those venues to do that with our program, because then they are getting a part of the revenue from the sale. So a product doesn't actually leave the Airbnb or the restaurant. It just serves as a sales sample. So if the guest is at the restaurant and they like the plates or they like the furniture or whatever it is, they can just use their phone and say, oh, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. Those orders then get off to the individual vendors to drop ship, and then a few days later, then those products are at the doorstep.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing you're doing there is you're almost curating the whole environment for them, aren't you? Because, like you said, a consumer can go into a store and they can look at a single item, but they don't see it in the environment which they would use it in. What you're doing here is you're putting that product in the environment they will use it in,
yes,
alongside adjacent products, and bringing that whole curated view together.
Yeah, and if you think of it, Airbnb really changed the mindset of people. I mean, 15 years ago, you would never think to go and spend a night in a stranger's bedroom. But now that's the norm. And same thing with Uber and Lyft. It's a different mind shift. People don't expect to be able to buy what they see wherever they go. So that's a challenge that we'll have over the coming years. But I think it's an interesting way for a new opportunity, a new distribution channel potentially for products too. Yeah. For people to experience these things in everyday life.
And you're solving a whole load of interior design dilemmas at the same time.
Yes, I mean, because now, we're turning these people into, we turned them into superhosts, or Airbnb did, ordinary people into superhosts. Well, we can turn people into super curators now, because their good taste, whatever it is that they're good at, they can assemble products that go well together or look good together. If you're an interior designer, or if you're just expert at what you do, you now are empowered to create a space, and then that can help cross-sell products too, because they go together. And you, as a business owner, have that opportunity to curate, and then it's a new passive income stream for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Bart, I mean, I see Coolblue as being a customer-centric business. I mean, I hope you'd agree with me on that one. So I mean, how are you supporting that customer experience in your stores and online?
Yeah, back in the days, a store was to get your product. It was about distribution. And I think since the internet is there, people use internet as the primary location to start their customer journey, searching for electronics. But we see the store is, especially for certain product types, really an extension to the customer journey. So when you buy a power bank, you can order it online and it's fine. And it's useless to show 20 power banks into a store. But if you want to buy a TV, you want to see the quality of your display. Or if you want to buy a smartwatch like I did last week, you really want to see, does it fit onto your wrist? So we really see the store as an extension to our customer journey, to build a great customer journey for a specific product type from start to end. So that's why we're opening stores and opening new stores. So we expect to double our store network upcoming years for that, especially giving those product types which are really relevant for a store to experience. So stores are more about experience these days for high interest product types than for distribution like back in the days.
Yeah. And 2 stores here in Germany now, is that correct?
Yes, we have in total 22 stores, of which are 2 in Germany. Yeah. We expect, Germany is a big country, so we need at least 20 stores in Germany for that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Tom, what's your view on creating these experiences?
I think for us, the independent channel in the US, I think Lisa and I were talking about, there's no shortage of, we got big footprint stores, there's no shortage of real estate, commercial real estate. I think we were talking about there's like 28 square feet per
25 per square
foot per person in the United States. But I think where that comes into play, where it's important from an experience standpoint, is that allows you to do experience centers. And in our markets in the US, you'll see our most proficient partners, whether it's electronics or appliances, there's experience centers. They're actually turned on. You go in the store, you can actually cook there. You can actually have a beer or a cold water from the fridge. You can taste food that comes off of the grills. I mean, that's becoming more and more common. A lot of that is driven by customers demanding better experiences. I mean, you look at the big box experience, it's just not great. You got to find someone, maybe they're in paint, maybe they're somewhere else, and then they know very little about the product. So the experience is not just seeing, feeling, touching, it's being educated, understanding how's this solving my problems and fitting my needs. And then of course, Bart and I were talking about the last 3 feet. We'll talk about that from a competitive perspective later. That's part of the experience as well, right? And you think particularly, Gen Z and millennials, they get pretty frustrated when something doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. Yeah. And so we think of experience as not just, the experience in store, but just like Bart said, all the way through the journey. They got to have a great experience online. They got to have a great experience in store. Again, we have a lot of real estate, so we have a ton of live kitchens, and it's just more fun. It's easier to sell up, create more aspirational product, and it's easier to really kind of solve needs real time when you have experience centers. And we've seen, candidly, kind of speaks to the importance of the experience. A lot of vendor partners in the U.S. are now having their own experience centers, particularly in the luxury space, to show off that product. Yeah.
And I mean, cooking's a great space for that. There's been some great innovation in cooking in recent years. But I mean, induction hobs, the air frying, all that sort of stuff, that just wasn't around a few years ago. So
yeah, it's not uncommon in the U.S. market to find a retailer driving footprints, driving people to the store with experience. We're going to do a cookout or an induction class cooking or some new technology that they wouldn't know about for free to just raise awareness and then create opportunity for the retailers. Pretty common.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to have to stand up again because we've still got a bit of an issue with the slides rendering. So on this one, we've got the Retail Revolution survey. This is a survey that was carried out by GfK earlier this year. We had nearly 1,000 respondents from the retail industries. This is not consumers. This is, industry people like yourselves and others. Now, what we wanted to do was understand the importance of different types of retail over the coming 2 to 3 years. And you can see on here, actually, some of the ones that came out top. So omnichannel, not surprising, 79%. And I mean, by omnichannel, I don't just mean the purchase of the product. I mean the whole journey to purchase as well, in terms of the research and the exploration that the consumers will do. So that obviously came out really high. Shopping experience in store came out really high. And buying online and picking up in store as a convenience factor also came out really high. So this leads to the question, how are retail experiences being hybridized to allow the best of both in-person and online shopping? I'm going to direct that one to you, Bart.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we believe it's strongly depending on the product you are buying, or are you living in the neighborhood of a store, what your preference is. But in example about technology, when you buy a television, we have already in our app a VR modus where you can see what the size of your television is on your own wall. Then you go to the store to watch the image quality, and probably you want it mounted on your wall back home by our delivery service. So it's all over the customer journey. If it's online and offline, it's going through each other, depending on your personal situation. So in washing machines, an example, the delivery is key to make the customer happy. We see very high NPS score when we deliver stuff ourselves. So we invest heavily in that. So depending on product type, we think, and it's depending on the personal situation, but there is value for a store, and there is value for the online journey, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, that last mile of delivery that you've obviously taken control of yourselves, I mean, that's been a common problem in retail, hasn't it, for many years? The retailer does a great job, in terms of the experience of selling the product, and then the delivery company that they trust as a third party lets them down. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was struck by that as well. I just love how that whole end-to-end white glove treatment, and then you can really control the customer journey and the experience through end-to-end. And that alone should drive a lot of loyalty toward your.
Yeah, we see a lot of loyalty when we deliver a washing machine at a customer. They return quite often, and also technology is helping us to make that customer journey also at the consumer installing the washing machine, having specifics on this washing machine even for the consumer to give them the right advice also for using the washing machine, so it not stops in throwing the washing machine into the window, not the window, into the house.
That wouldn't be good.
But it's really installing it and make it work, see the washing machine working, and then go home.
Yeah. And the other interesting point you mentioned was the VR app to actually, see what the TV is going to look like in your room, because, when you're in a massive showroom full of TVs, they often look smaller than they actually do when you get them home to your living room and think, oh no, that's way too big. And the last thing you want is that massive lump in the corner of the room. So I think that's a really helpful technology for consumers as well.
And it's often a discussion within a household between people in the same household, how big the TV should be. So we see it's a very big return reason that person A in the household buys a television and person B thinks...
Yeah, it's too big.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And image quality is interesting because you mentioned that as well. I mean, you just can't see that online. There's no way you can test that. If you watch a lot of live sport, for example, you need a faster refresh rate on the screen. I mean, seeing that firsthand is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, so in store, we try to see where are people looking for online, which specifications, and then in store we try to guide them through the step-by-step process towards the right choice. So we show different image qualities next to each other that people really can see the difference. And of course, first choice is size, second choice is image quality, and there are a few more choices where we guide them through. And at the end of the day, there's always a television for your goal and for your needs.
Yeah, okay. Tom, what's your view?
Yeah, I think, maybe all of that is incredibly relevant. I think the way we think about it might be slightly different when we think about the full channel experience. What we find is that you have to be everywhere. You have to be online. We think you need to have a store. But what we've found is that it has to be a consistent experience. You can't have a fantastic website with great refresh rate, and then when the customer shows up to look, feel, touch, have the discussion or the argument about size and see what it looks like, that experience has to match what they have online. And then conversely, you can't have an experience center and a terrible website, right? And then the last piece, for us, something we've already touched on it, is the online experience has to match the in-store experience, both in technology and experience. So you need to have live price tags. Those price tags need to be able to show you online whether that product is in store, because it's not a lot more frustrating than wanting to see a product, getting halfway through your journey, and not being able to see it. And then the last piece for us is making sure that delivery experience is as strong as the online and in-store combined experience. So we kind of look at it as all of those things are table stakes to have a good customer experience, and they will value an experience, but they all also have to match and be equally as pleasant and as enjoyable, because if you lose the customer and something doesn't match on the delivery, you'll lose them definitely. If it doesn't match in store, you'll lose them, and you'll never get them if it doesn't match online to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Lisa, this is an interesting one for your business because I mean, we talk about experiences and we talk about getting it right in retail, but actually in your environment, the consumer is already having the experience. They might be in the Airbnb having a break or in a hotel or something like that, and then you're bringing retail to them. So what's your view on this?
Well, I think it's an opportunity, I think, to introduce people to things they didn't know exist. I think for emerging brands, I mean, I love startups. I'm a startup. I've seen some incredible new products at this show that I wouldn't, as a consumer, think to go shop for. I wouldn't even know what to Google for. If you're saying that if sales start online, it's typically because a customer knows what they're looking for, or some in the ballpark. Oh, I want an air fryer because I've heard that those are great. Well, those have been around for a while, so the awareness is there. But for something that's emerging, a new startup that is trying to get some awareness going, there's a company, Steambox, that I saw. They're part of the Funded House. And if you get an opportunity, certainly make it over to the Investor Lounge, where they are putting together investors and exciting startups for interesting emerging opportunities. Where this is where I found these guys, was Steambox, where it's a box that heats up your lunch. And it just, you, from your phone, you're like, oh, I'm ready to, you're at work, and you just tell it, I'm ready to eat in 15 minutes, and then it does its thing, and there your food is hot. So wherever you go. So I thought that was an interesting one. There's all kinds of products like that certainly could be experienced in an Airbnb setting so easily, and people can say, wow, this is a cool thing. I can make a single-use tea, or I can heat up my lunch and take it with me on my hike. So those types of opportunities, I think, are exciting for our business because it's just a way to gain awareness for emerging products. I also think in terms of this hybridized question that we're talking about, I think there's an opportunity for vendors for these types of products to have a one-to-one connection with a customer. because it's such an intimate setting that we could facilitate that immediate feedback to the vendor. And it just creates this nice, intimate shopping experience.
Yeah, it's true. I hadn't thought of that aspect, but yeah, that's another bonus. Okay, interesting. And just on the omnichannel part, I mean, just one point that I want to share with you from the GfK data is that actually, we see when consumers are researching prior to purchase, there's about more than 70% here in Germany for television, for example, will research in a store, and there's also 50% who will research online. So there's a massive crossover between people researching in store and people researching online before they get to the point of actually buying the product. Okay, so the next question is about brick and mortar stores. Where do brick and mortar stores fit into the new retail landscape? And we've got 4 key areas here: choice, experiences, operational excellence, and purpose. I'm sorry, I know you can't see the can't see the slides either.
The slide, yeah.
Tom, I'm going to come back to you on that one.
I'm a little biased because we have 14,400 of those across the country, but yes. I think they'll continue to serve the service that they've always served, a place for a customer to come to have a great experience. We're just, if we're doing it right, we're solving a problem. And the second largest human need after appreciation is connection, and to come in and have someone sit beside, solve your problem. Brick and mortar retail has been doing that for hundreds of years in the United States. Yeah. And there's a long list of big box that couldn't create that connection, couldn't properly solve that problem, that are gone, and while we thrive. And so I think they'll continue to do what they always do. The most loyal customer is the customer that was served the best. And when you particularly think about the products that we carry, particularly high-end appliance, high-end electronics, that customer will become, there's a reason why they created a long-term value of customer equation, because we know what that looks like. And so I think we'll continue to do that. Brick and mortar will continue to do that. Independent channel will continue to do that. So much so, I think you're seeing now, at least in the US market, quite a bit, digitally native companies that are now entering retail. I mean, Amazon purchased Whole Foods because they knew they needed that last 3 feet to create a connection with that customer. You look at Wayfair trying to get into retail, and even digitally native brands that we partner with are asking us, how do we engage your network? Because we know we need retail. We know 90+% in our space of people that buy product, regardless of what generation you are, look online, and that's your first filter. Yeah. But it's still overwhelmingly, and depending on the categories, in the durable spaces, the large durable spaces where we are, particularly at price point, it's anywhere from 60 to 90% of that purchase is actually made at retail still. So brick and mortar is incredibly relevant, going to continue to be incredibly relevant, both to the consumer, to the vendor partners, to launch great product, very complicated product. Products are getting more complicated, not less complicated. So I chuckle when they talk about brick and mortar being dead, because we've got a long history to prove that it's not.
And it's great to hear, because one of the questions that I got a lot after COVID was because obviously the online sales absolutely grew during that period. Stores were closed, they couldn't really compete. But one of the questions I used to get a lot at the end of the COVID time was, well, will there be a future for stores? Some people were literally, the doom mongers out there were literally predicting the end of retail stores. Sure. That's it. And isn't it great to think that hasn't happened? And we've carved out this industry where there's a place for a store and there's a place for online, and the two can overlap. So yeah, that's really encouraging to hear that from you. Lisa, what's your view?
Well, I think that as a new product, again, I come back to the new products, I think that we can really provide them with a platform to get their product into a situation where the customer is seeing it. So I think distribution is sometimes difficult for new companies to try to find vendors to, retailers to pick up their product, because they're competing with other ones that might be already taking up shelf space. So I think that we provide an opportunity for them to get their products in front of a customer and to drive that awareness, because it's hard as a startup company to just use videos and things, digital. It can only go so far. So I think and again, getting an opportunity for these types of products to get in front of new audiences, that's just a new distribution channel that I think we can open up. Yeah. And why not? Yeah. So I think the more we can get in front of people, the better, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Bart.
Yeah, we really believe for specific customer journeys in stores like we talked about, and you were talking, Tom, about the human connection, and we see that also. There's a difference between information and knowledge, and a lot of people want to have the human confirmation that you're buying the right product. Of course, you have great websites with a lot of, which are almost databases with thrown in a lot of products. Well, on our website, we already try to guide customers way better to choose the right product. We curate this already online, but in the store, you even get a better confirmation, together with showing products, of course, experiencing products, but and for service purposes. So we see people, like 80% of our sales is online, 20% in stores. But for returns, we see way higher numbers. So people like to return their stuff to our store. We're not always happy with returns, but we're happy to serve the customer. We see that when people can go to a store, they also buy online sooner, and it drives conversion. End of the day, locally.
Definitely.
And you have category experts. So when you know, as a customer, you come into your store, and I'm looking for something, I can go to someone who really knows what they're talking about for whatever I'm looking at, which I think is great.
Yeah, so that helps in this human connection, that or human confirmation, that if you talk to somebody who knows about something where you soon already see, hey, this person knows where he's talking about or she is talking about, that really helps. And that drives also repurchase rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, I'm conscious of time. We only have a couple of minutes left, so we did say we would reserve some time for questions. Do we have any questions? I'm just going to wait for this screen to react, and it will hopefully tell me.
I don't think we have
There's
it.
one here.
Oh.
Here we go. Right. Okay, so the question is, with so many connected home products entering the market with such advanced capabilities, will consumers and ultimately retailers feel smart tech fatigue? Okay, interesting. Bart, what's your...
Sorry.
Shall I read it again? It's quite a long question. With so many connected home products entering the market with such advanced capabilities, will consumers and ultimately retailers feel smart tech fatigue?
Yeah, some people will and they don't buy. But we see, of course, a trend of a lot of people who like this and who are integrating this better and better. And especially the first, home products, smart home products were complicated and difficult, but you also see innovation there that's getting simpler and simpler. And that the use case is really working.
And this is where that retail experience really has to support the consumer, isn't it, in terms of actually understanding those products, because they can seem a little bit alien at first, and they can seem a little bit difficult, something new, but that's where the retail has a role to play to support consumers in using those products.
Yeah, I think there can be, as long as it's not smart for smart's sake and it's smart for value creation's sake. And so I think that's what's going to be the difference.
Yeah.
Solving those problems at home.
Yeah, smart for value creation, not for smart's sake. I think that's a great way to finish. So we are out of time. Thank you for joining us for this debate, and see you all soon. Thank you.